Welcome to another amazing episode from the Back9 Brothers. This is a podcast geared towards guys like Graham and myself who are on the back nine of life. So if you're on the same side of life as we are, welcome to the show. Would love to hear from you, get your inputs on future topics, and let's get on with the show.
Good morning, Luther.
Good morning, sir. How are you, man? Like, how is the world of Woodstock, Georgia, where we live, treating you?
It's been good. It's rainy today, but I've made a lot of great local connections recently. I just had a coffee this morning with a local speaker and coach, and it was just really cool. Like, I think that's my favorite thing to do is just go to coffee with new people and network and have conversations. And what really grabbed me about her was I was in a networking meeting last week. When we go around, introduce yourself and whatever, and it was literally in the first 5 seconds, she got up and started talking, and I was like, I need to meet her. It was just her energy, her vibe. I was just like, man, she's so cool. And then we met this morning for coffee, and it was as awesome as I was hoping. So that was cool. So just been doing a lot of that. What about you?
A lot of different things, primarily around the stablecoin space. Podcast is doing really well, made a lot of good connections. The most important part is that, as I was mentioning earlier to you, we launched the AI business as well. So now I've got one foot in the stablecoin space, in the payment space, and then the other foot in the AI space with my buddy Kunal. We had an amazing initial client conversation that came out of a workshop that we did at Thrive. And so that was amazing. Like, it was immediate, right? We did the workshop and somebody said, you need to get into our office like right now, which
That's
is,
cool.
that's the best client feedback you could get from that perspective. I do need to connect you to the guy that we met with because he owns about 7 very different businesses. I mean, when I say very different, like very different businesses. And some of those businesses I think are really, really well suited for good video content marketing. So I'll connect you. I'll make the connection with you as well. You talked about this coach. Like, I find coaches are really interesting. Can we discuss that real quick? Like, I want to understand how you view coaching, the value of coaching, and have you had good value from coaching?
Yeah. Her thing is really, she's a keynote speaker and a coach, and she just has an amazing story. Where she's a single mom of 4 and just built up from the ashes and has built this amazing business where, she used to have imposter syndrome and she had a corporate job and it just wasn't fulfilled. So really cool story. So if nothing else, she's super inspirational. And I think like she's trying to target talking to sororities, like younger girls who are about to go out in the world and share her story. That's like, look, you can learn from my mistakes and things. So that was really cool about her, but her vibe and her energy is just amazing. But coaching in general, I find it's valuable in that it gives me a different perspective. It holds me accountable. When I've had a business coach, I would say that he made me do the things that I don't want to do. Like, I'm not a great organized business owner. I'm great at what I do. I'm great at video production. I'm great at storytelling and marketing and that kind of stuff. But do you want to talk about P&L and KPIs and all, it's just not, it's just not my main concern. So knowing that I had to meet with him every other Friday, you can bet your ass I was looking at my P&L and knowing my numbers Thursday night so that when I had to meet with him on Friday, I could have those numbers. So for me, it was the accountability, but also a different perspective. Like, we were talking about marketing and I was doing email marketing and Facebook ads and all this. And he goes, hey man, I know you're not going to believe this, but still the most effective type of marketing is direct mail. And I'm like, shut up, dude. That is so old. There's no way. And I researched it and it was true. Like, I would never in a million years. So it's another perspective. And it's somebody that holds you accountable. And some of my clients who are running multi-million dollar businesses, like tens of millions of dollars. One of my clients would be like, oh, I gotta go. I have a meeting with my business coach. I'm like, you have a business coach, like he's probably doing $100 million a year in revenue, but same thing. It's like having that other set of eyes and ears and another perspective that gets you out of your bubble and looking at things differently, and just either kicks you in the ass or wakes you up or gives you other ideas. And so, yeah, I definitely believe in the power of coaching and mentorship. Like hell, I've built my entire business from what I've learned from mentors and coaches. Have you done coaching?
I have done executive coaching, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked really well. It worked really well because, and if you think about it, it's the same thing. Like you're an
Was this,
entrepreneur,
I'm
so
sorry, I don't
you
want to cut
have.
you off, but was this one-on-one with you as an executive, or was it an executive team? They coached your whole executive team.
That's a good question. It was one on one. My
Okay.
company actually paid for me to have this coach. It was really, really well done. And if you kind of think about it, so you're an entrepreneur, so you had business coaching, and then I'm an executive, so I had executive coaching. It's kind of the same thing because they're trying to, and I like the way you put it because at the end of the day, any coach is trying to drive one thing, and it's not common sense because every like you have to look at P&L. I know I need to like run an organization a certain kind of way. If you're a life coach, yes, we all know we're not supposed to eat a bag of Fritos and a quart of ice cream, right? Like, it's just all common sense. But at the end of the day, they're just driving accountability, right? Any coach out there is accountability, and it's a little different than when you're playing sports in school, and because that there they are you're learning new skills, from a coach, and you're growing up. But when you get to being an adult and you get like a life coach, a business coach, a executive coach, a strategy coach, whatever coaching that there is out there, I think at the end of the day, it's all about accountability. Now, I mean, do all successful people have coaches? I don't I don't know, but I don't think so. I have no
I
proof to
don't think
think
so.
that that's true. But does it help to have another unbiased adult in your corner who is able to kind of give you an unbiased view of what you're going through, what you're planning on doing? Helps a lot, I think. It helps a lot. I
I think,
remember sitting with this guy. Go ahead.
no, 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 you go.
I remember sitting with this guy for very different reasons. Like one time I was like, "Hey," at the beginning of the year, he was like, "What's your plan?" And I was like, "I'm planning on doing this." This. He was like, "I mean, you do that." He was like, "You're gonna achieve 25% of whatever you're gonna achieve because there's no specificity, there is no clear KPIs to measure. How are you going to measure the people that are reporting to you, right?" And that was really eye opening. But then I had a very different conversation with them on a different scenario, which was like, "Hey, I'm about to present to the board this plan," and he was like, "Okay, well, walk me through it." And he was an executive himself who he sits on the boards of companies, etc. And so, yeah,
Yeah. m- for me also, it was we would end every coaching session with a to-do list, a task list for me. And as the owner of a company, as an entrepreneur, I don't have a manager. I'm deciding what needs to be done. I'm deciding everything. So to have his perspective and then say, okay, by the next meeting, you're going to have reached out to 5 of these business owners and said that, like, we maybe came up with a marketing plan and some verbiage of what I was going to say, and deciding who my ICP was and reaching out to them. And okay, at the next meeting, you're going to have reached out to these 5 people. Or if I have been putting something off, like, yes, I want to talk to so-and-so. I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. That's on my to-do list. And it's accountability, but it's like having a boss or a manager who gave me a to-do list for the next meeting and just propelled my business forward. Um, and then it's almost like you said, does every successful person have a coach? No, they don't. It's just like, does every person have a therapist? No. But are they super valuable, and do they help the people that have therapists? I believe they do. And so a business coach is a lot of times like a business therapist. It doesn't have to be about KPIs and P&Ls and closing rates and how many appointments you have. And it can be like, man, I'm really struggling with this right now. And it's just somebody who understands what you're going through and they've been there. And it's something like, like your spouse can't relate to if they're not an entrepreneur. Of course, they love you and they care about you and they understand when business is slow and when revenue is up, but to have somebody who really understands what you're going through, it's like business therapy. So, yeah, it was really valuable for me, not only on the tactics of running the business and things I don't like to do, but also just being able to get a perspective from somebody who's been there and I can learn from their challenges or their mistakes. And yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's the objectivity that I think that I find most valuable, right? They're able to look at the situation both from a perspective, like you said, they have the experience, and even if they don't have specific experience in your particular industry or walk of life, they have a general understanding. It's no different than it's actually it's a little different, but it's slightly no different than when you are talking to your kid, right? Like you're telling your son, like, "Hey, you shouldn't do this," right? And they're like, "Why?" And you're like, "Well, because generally where one thing leads to the next, right?" Now, in our case, like as a parent, I think you're pretty emotional sometimes about it, but these guy or gal is usually trying to be as unemotional about it, which kind of helps a lot because you're right. Like even if your spouse is an entrepreneur, you could have a great conversation with them, but at some point, like unless you just have the most amazing relationship with your spouse, you emotions get involved, right? Like they may say something and you're like, well, if only you didn't shop so much on Amazon, like like, and then there goes the whole conversation out the window, right?
Yeah.
uh
It
so
also, that brings me to something I wanted to talk about is like feeling for me, my wife is she took a part-time job this year at the school, but the last 13 years have been a stay-at-home mom. And it's just something I've been thinking about a lot is the pressure of being, if you want to call it the breadwinner or up until now, the
mm,
only income. And so I know that your wife works and she's got a great job, but do you still, as the head of the household, or do you ever feel that pressure of being the provider? That's what I would say, the provider versus the breadwinner. Because I'm feeling it a little bit now, and I think revenue is good and income is good right now, but like I always have that fear in the back of my mind, like what if the next job doesn't come? What happens if this project fails? And I've been doing this for 7 years. Like it hasn't happened yet, but I still worry about that. Like it's all on me and being the provider. And all. Do you ever experience those kinds of thoughts?
think every guy does, but I want to dig in a little bit deeper on what you said because what you said is really topical for everybody that's our age group. Actually, it's topical for, I would say, most men, and it's especially topical for guys that are in our age group. So I want to dig in a little deeper. When you say the pressure, how does I want to first? The first question is, how does that pressure actually exhibit itself in your day to day?
It's in my mind. I don't get stressed very often. I'm a very even-keeled kind of stoic person, but when I can feel the stress and the worry, I know that it's manifesting itself or it's becoming physical for me. It's on my mind all the time. And I just worry like the way that we do it in my family is all of the business income goes into my business account and then I'll transfer money to the personal account for the mortgage and all that. And I dread the days when my wife and I are sitting on the couch and all of a sudden she'll go, "Oh, I just got a low balance notification. Do you have any money to transfer?" And it's like this moment of panic, like, okay, I do. Thank God that I do. But it's those times when things have gotten tight where I'm like, I'm waiting on a check from a client and it's probably not coming till next week. So, and then when I get stressed, I start to sweat. So I know that if the sweat starts coming down and I have the stress sweats, um, I know it's bad. But yeah, it's just dreading those moments when she says, "Do you have any money to transfer? I got a low balance notification." It's like, my gosh, man, I
What's
feel I
the
I feel like a loser. I feel like I'm 51, man. I shouldn't be having low balances, and it's stressful.
what's the ultimate visual that you have when you can you do you catastrophe? What's the word I'm looking for? Catastrophize? No, catastrophe. Yeah, I think that's the word.
Catastrophize?
Yeah, hold on.
Like, what's the worst that can happen? You mean, or what do you mean?
Yes. Yeah. 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 What is the not this factually what was the worst that could happen? What do you imagine is the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I worry that I worry that we lose our house and we end up homeless. Like, I go there. I go to, like,
Exactly.
"Oh my gosh, what we can't pay the mortgage, they're gonna foreclose on the house," and then, like, that's so many steps down the road from where we're at, but that's where my head goes. Like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be homeless."
Yeah. The reason I wanted you to say that out loud is because we all fucking go through that, right? I I know at any given point, knock on wood, by God's grace, there is X amount sitting in an account that's waiting for the rainy day fund, right? Like, and I strongly suggest everybody have one. I know different circumstances means that you may or may not, but even knowing that, when something happens, the first thing that I jump to is me and my kids and the family being homeless. Right? We're like, how is this gonna work out? Right? And but I wonder why that is, right? Why
Yeah.
is it that our brain is attuned to jumping from things are great to, oh my God, like we're gonna be homeless, you know? And in fact, I'm not gonna lie to you, like when I see homeless people and like my initial reaction is always like, oh my God, like, how do we help them? But like there's a part of me that thinks, man, at any given point, I am one bad decision away from there. And isn't that nuts? But I think the reason I wanted you to kind of vocalize that fear and exactly what you imagine is I think I now that you've said it and I know that I do it, it's got to be something that everybody does to some extent or the other. And it's always there, whether it's something that kind of takes over 90% of your brain, or whether it's something that's like subliminally there. I think it's something that's there for almost every guy. And regardless of, where you live in the world, what religion, whatever, I think everybody has some portion of this.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just, how men are wired to we've always been raised to be the provider and, go out and kill dinner and bring it back to the cave and feed the family. And it might just be some deep psychological hypothalamus, something in our brains that we put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be, we have to be the provider. And I'm not one of these people that thinks worst case scenario much. Like I am
No,
very
we talked
stoic.
about this, right? Like, I think,
I am
yeah,
very
we
logical.
talked about this
And,
in a
but
previous
like
episode.
that, I was just like, well, yeah, like when you were talking about the rainy day fund, like when I quit my job to do this full time, we had, 6 months of savings saved up and whatever. Um, and then COVID hit and we went through all of it. Thank God we had it though. But to your point, if there's any way to save up like an emergency fund to have that, I mean, it's really crucial. Even if $50 a month, 100, like put something in a savings for, it maybe not everybody is as blessed to be able to save up 9 months worth of expenses, but just even having that little bit it's crucial. I mean, I don't know if that's Dave Ramsey or what financial guru that comes from, but I mean, having that backup, um, it can save you on a rainy day for sure. And don't get me wrong, I'm not great with it. I'm not preaching here.
No, we're definitely not coming from a position of authority by no stretch of the imagination.
Yes, this is not
One of the thing,
financial advice.
yeah, quick disclaimer, where this is not financial. This is purely for entertainment purposes only. The thing that I would say, somebody, a mentor of mine taught me there in my 20s. He said, you know, one way to add a little bit less stress or detract some stress from your life is if you knew what the maintenance number is at any given point, right? So if you knew, you said, okay, and on in any given month, as long as I can bring in, let's just make up a number, $5,000, I may not be, we won't be eating steak, right? We're not going to be eating steak. We may have to cut out a few of the like going out. We may have to cut out like some of the, maybe some sports things for my kids. Like, we may have to cut out some things, but we will have a roof over our heads. We will be able to eat 3 square meals a day. We'll still be driving the cars that we're driving. So basically, you just have to like lock that in and say, okay, in order to maintain like this lifestyle, with no savings and no frills, and okay, we're not taking any vacations, you take out all the extras. What is it? And once you know that number, it actually helps a lot from your mental fortitude, because what happens is when you think about losing a job or falling sick or something like that, you don't think like, oh my God, we're going to go homeless. You're just like, okay, I just need to be able to bring in 5 grand, you know? And maybe that's doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Maybe it's doing a little consulting here, something else there. It actually helps you a lot from like how you think about the maintenance part of it versus, oh my God, I got to bring in this whatever I was making. Because chances are you don't need all that. Okay, and then and guess what? Like for maybe for 5 or 6 months, you just do maintenance, and then guess you will figure out a way to make more from there, right? So, have you ever thought about it that way?
Yeah, when I get my brain back in order and I can think logically about it, I think, what is the next logical step? What is the next step I have to take to, like, it reminds me of that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Like,
Mm.
instead of worrying about, oh my gosh, we're going to be homeless, look at that number that we need to make. And what is the next step? Is that I need to reach out to, I need to follow up with this client that was going to close the deal and we never did it. Does that mean I need to reach out to somebody who wanted to set up a call? Do I need to do more networking? Like, what is the next logical step? So then let's say your number's $10,000 for that month. Okay. I got 2,500 here. Now I go to the next one. Now I go to 3,000, step by step, and trying to be systematic about it, and compartmentalize all of it. So yeah, I do think about that. Once I'm like, okay, calm down, we're gonna be okay. How can I fix this? And it's always, what's the next move I can make that will make an impact? I'm not gonna solve the whole problem in one day. If the revenue's low in the account and there's not much coming in for what can I do right now? And actually I learned that from a mentor of mine, where he told a story when he had started his business and things got low in his account and he just kicked himself in the ass. And he's like, I am going to reach out to this many business owners and reach out, and he ended up doing like 40 grand worth of revenue in 2 months. Whereas he was like, he needed like 5 grand to survive, but it was just that, like, I'm gonna take these steps. And he ended up doing like 40 grand. And that was a great lesson for me. It's like, just take the next step, do the next logical thing, try to get the emotion out of it. Don't worry about the big picture, step by step by step by step.
I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, keep learning, have to re-teach myself is the panic. When your mind goes into like panic mode and everything just looks really, really dire, the the best question you can actually ask yourself is which of this is actually real? And that to sometimes it works, most times it works, sometimes it doesn't. But then most of the time your brain will say, "Oh, that's right. That didn't happen. This hasn't happened yet. This hasn't happened yet. Only this has happened. So how would you know, right, that this is what's going to happen?" And when I say this, I'm talking about the worst case scenario could happen, right? Because you almost never have proof that that's going to happen. Never. It's all your brain, right? And we've talked about this on previous episode, and I'll restate this because I love this. And I think you pulled up the quote the last time. I think it's Mark Twain or somebody that says, "I've seen very terrible things in my life, most of which never happened."
Yeah, yeah. And I think the most impactful thing you said to me today was that everybody everybody has that, or you have that, you feel that. And I think that's an important part of why we're doing this. Is it's when I learned a lot about imposter syndrome early on in my entrepreneurial journey was, oh my gosh, everybody goes through imposter syndrome. Most people think, oh, they're going to figure me out that I'm a fraud. Even the most successful CEOs and executives still feel like that kid in middle school or high school, and they're like, oh, they're going to figure me out. I don't know what I'm doing. And the same thing with when I'm talking about worrying about being the provider and all that. It's like everybody goes through this stuff, and I like being able to talk about this with somebody instead of showing up at these networking meetings and I'm Graham Kuhn, I own Focus Films, and we're killing it. it's nice
That's
to be
right.
able to have these conversations. It's like, nah, man, I'm going through some shit right now, or I've gone through some shit. And sometimes I get in my head, and then having somebody to talk to and be like, dude, me too. I do it too. And I'm like, wait, what? Luther feels like this? What? Luther, who I put on a pedestal as this like executive kind of like, but it's so refreshing. And I think it's so valuable to talk about this stuff and be like, dude, everybody experiences this.
That's the whole point of this podcast, is for us to have real conversations and definitely invite real conversations from others as well. I do want to double click on something that you said just now, which is imposter syndrome. I may get found out. I want to give people listening to this that, you know what? Even if you did get found out, like let's say you thought you were doing something, maybe you're playing in a league that's beyond what you're capable of, and things happen, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's it. Like, oh my God, like I can deliver. I got this title. I started this business because I thought I was going to kill it, but then I ended up losing all of it because I didn't know what I was doing. It's okay, right? It's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I know it's easy for us to sit and say this, but I hope like somebody listening to this can hear that and be like, yeah, it is truly, it's okay. Like, you, you quit panicking, right? Step one, stop panicking. Step two, like you said, Graham, what is the next logical step that you should take? Like, and just sit. And I think the best way to do it is just sit down with a piece of paper, maybe a book or whatever, and then just, sit in your room by yourself and just think that through. Like, what is the next logical step? And if your mind goes into a spiral, stop the spiral, because the spiral is what really makes it worse at the end of the day. But if you could just think about the next logical step, it makes a huge difference. And then that's the thing that I always have to practice, is sometimes when mind starts to spiral and you're like, oh, this is going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And then, oh my God, this is going to happen. And then, guess what? Like, my kids are homeless. Like, it always ends up with kids are homeless, right? For some
Yeah.
reason, like, it's like, and then you're like, no, 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 no. No, what? We're not, we're so far from there. Like, all I have to do is get this guy to do this, or get this company to do this, or get this person to, sign a contract. That's all it is. And then boom, we're back in maintenance mode. As long as I'm in maintenance mode, I can breathe. If I can breathe, I can run, right? Like, at this point, I just need to keep walking. You just need to have enough oxygen to walk right now. You don't need enough oxygen to, like, run 100 miles an hour up a mountain. That's tomorrow's problem, right?
I do think there takes some emotional maturity and some self-control, some mindset to stop the panicking, where if you're worried about being the provider, you're worried you're not going to make ends meet this month, you want it fixed right now, because you don't want to feel like this. You don't want to feel this panic. You're like, somebody just give me $20,000 right now and everything's going to be good. To stop the panic and the spiral, and to discipline yourself to go step by step, it's tough because you want it fixed right now when you're in the panic. So there takes a lot of emotional maturity and mindset to be like, chill the fuck out. I know this step will lead to this step, will lead to this step, and being systematic about it. There's definitely a mindset and trying to take the emotion out of it. That is a learned thing and is not easy. I've definitely gone through that.
It is funny when people say, "Oh, money is the root of all evil," or "money won't solve all your problems." You're like, "Trust me, I'm willing to take this bet. Like, just give me the money first, and then we'll worry about the other problems later, because it'll solve a lot of problems today." you know,
Yeah, it helps. It helps.
it surely helps. Like, I mean, somebody's like, $1 million is not going to solve anything. Just give it to me and try. Like, why just give me
I'll
the million
take my
dollars? Then
chances.
I'll take my chances on the other side.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it, dude. But yeah, I think this is a really important topic. Knowing that a lot of men, especially like me at 51 years old, I'm thinking about like, retiring one day, and every year that goes by, I'm like, oh shit, that's only like what, 14 years away, 10 years away. And I'm like, how am I going to get there? And like, just these things that we think about that nobody talks about. I mean, that's something I think about all the time. And I know we've talked about that previously, but just being able to be honest and real with somebody and being like, dude, I've been thinking about retirement since I was 30, but now that I'm 51, I'm like, it's a real thing. So I think these are really important conversations.
Yeah. The other
I'm
thing I
looking
want
at
I
it.
want to
I'm
kind of
sorry. I'm looking at it. I was writing down some topics we could talk about. I'm looking at a question I wrote right when I said that. What scares you most about the second half of life? And that's it. Having enough money left over that I can retire and still provide for the family and have freedom. And I don't not to I don't want to be one of those 80-year-old guys working at Walmart. It's just it makes me sad when I see that. Now, if they do it on their like, hey, I want to be around people, that's great. But I worry many of them do those jobs because they ran out of money or Social Security isn't paying them enough, or and so that scares the shit out of me. So yeah, what scares you the most about the second half of life? It's that.
yeah. I think there is a there is a mindset that you have to kind of fix yourself to, wherein when you see somebody that is, in their 60s or 70s working at a Walmart, instead of instead of thinking the worst, right? Like that could be me, you know? I think you have to kind of take a step back and be like, you know, it, things have to go really bad for me to end up there. And there's so many things, and here's the other thing that I often feel that I do, and probably you do, and then most everybody listening to this does, is you you count on life and luck to work against you, but then you don't count on yourself and life and luck to work for you.
Mm.
Why is that? Why is it so easy for you to believe that things are going to go bad? Why is it not easier for you to think that things are going to go good?
Man, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely something that I had to learn and get over when, again, imposter syndrome, just my upbringing and being taught that you go to college, you get a job, and then you work for somebody, you retire. Taking a leap into entrepreneurship is like, man, who am I to think I can do this? Like, entrepreneurs are successful people. I'm not a successful people. I'm a, I'm a worker guy. I'm an employee guy. So I think there's limiting beliefs in there that all of us have. Maybe, maybe you don't have examples or, people to model that after. Maybe, people you've been around, most people worry about the worst and you haven't surrounded yourself with enough people who see the best in everything or have a positive outlook on everything. Like that's definitely something I've noticed in my business the last few years is when I'm surrounding myself with successful people and I'm surrounding myself with people I want to emulate, like my life totally changes. If there's like a negative energy from somebody, I'm not with them you know, but
Yeah.
surrounding myself with successful people and emulating them or modeling after them and learning from them, and being willing to learn, like dropping my ego. And even though, yes, I've built a successful company, but gosh, like you said, I'm still learning. I can always learn. I think you drop the ego and you learn from other successful people. But yeah, I wonder how much of it is just how we've been brought up and maybe we didn't have people to model. I mean, for me, I'm from a tiny little town in Wisconsin. It's not like there's millionaires everywhere. Um, just hardworking people, man, that provide for their family. And so that's kind of what was ingrained in my brain. So I wonder if maybe some of it is just you didn't have enough people to model or be around what you want to be or successful people.
In this day and age, I think you have the luxury of, even if you don't know these people personally, being able to surround yourself with the content that they put out, maybe, right? Or with how they act, at least on YouTube or on TV, for example, or on, and my point here is that something you said, which is very key. If you already are prone to spiraling, which most of us are, the last thing you need is more negativity from people that are going to add to your spiral. Like you, you definitely don't want people that are going to pour fuel on that flame, because that's just going to make it worse, right? So if, just to kind of maybe kind of put a wrapper around everything that we talked about, you know, mindset is key. We're all prone to spiraling. What can you do? Step one, ask yourself, how much of this is actually real? right? And what is the next logical step you can do, step you can take? And then the second thing is, if you've got people that are constantly adding to the spiral, adding to the negativity, as much as you can, limit your exposure to them and surround yourself with as much positivity as possible, but not positivity like, you know, it's not positivity to
Not
the extent where it's like woo woo stuff.
yeah, not fake rah
Yeah,
inspiration, but
not fake
yeah,
rah rah for sure. Not fake like magic or anything like that, right? But real positivity, right? Positivity that basically says like you should believe in yourself. You should believe, in some higher power that's looking out for you, right? Like whatever that you believe in. I think these things really help, man. These things really help. I mean, just to kind of point back to most religions, right? And I'm Christian, you're Christian, but like most religions, including Christianity, one of the most common things that they say is like, "Don't worry," right? Like, there's a reason. There's a reason why that phraseology, that concept comes up in so many religions, and the one that we both know, which is like the Bible. It's said so many times. It's like, "Worry not." Like, okay, thanks, man. Like,
mm-hmm.
what am I supposed to do next?
Yeah. There was a hymn
So
we would always sing at the Catholic Church: "Be not afraid." Say it all the time. Be not afraid.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, this was really good. I think this was a very fruitful conversation and a valuable conversation for people to hear. Um, I'm just trying to think if I have any more points to add, but I would just say, like you were talking about, being positive and just not being fake positive. I would just look at it like joy and perspective, like having a perspective of being positive, not necessarily like, wow, let's do it. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. Like, dude, sometimes things suck, but just having the perspective of it's okay. How can I look on the bright side of this? How can I focus on the positive and work through it? So we're not saying, it's going to be a cheerleader and everything's going to be great, but it's like having that perspective of there is a positive side to this. There is a positive outlook that you can have, and you're gonna go much further doing that than focusing on everything that's wrong and all the negative and focusing on things you can't control.
There's a lot of value to being realistically optimistic, right? Based on versus just fake optimism. Like everything's gonna work out. Okay, why? Right? Because there's got to be something. There's got to be a reason why it's gonna work out. Because it's the two sides of the coin, right? The same reason, the same question that you would ask yourself. Okay, what of this crazy thing that I've just thought about is real? You gotta ask yourself on the flip side as well. If everything's gonna work out, okay, what is the next logical step? And the next logical step is the only thing that you can do. Like this is just gonna parting thought, right? Like there's things you can control, there's things you can't control. Just work on the things you can control. All that said, I guarantee you, 10 minutes from now, I'll get an email that I'll start spiraling on. That's just the nature of it, right? Like as much as we've talked about it just now, I promise you, there'll be an email today. There'll be a conversation somewhere today where I'm just like, and then we're going to end up homeless.
Well, call me when that
Yeah,
happens.
I will.
Great, man.
It was great chatting with you today.
You too, buddy. Now let's get to work.
All right. With that, signing off. Catch you guys in the next episode.
See you later.
Ciao. Bye.